Welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Loima, but first are the headlines. Plans to have Museveni's picture on Ugandan currency notes commence. M23 rebels unleash chaos, trigger mass displacements in North Kivu. Wakiso Giants, Chitara march to Stanbic Uganda Cup round of 16. Welcome once again now the news in detail. Plans to have the photo of President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni appear on Ugandan legal tender have commenced with the request to the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs for a proposed amendment. We have more. The plans were kick-started by one Majambele Ivan Semakula, who identifies himself as a National Resistance Movement activist and President Museveni's attack lion. In a letter to the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs and copied to the Bank of Uganda, Parliament of Uganda, as well as the Attorney General, Majambele notes that it is high time the country appreciated Museveni for his wonderful service with his portrait splashed on Ugandan currency. He notes that this should only be possible if there is an amendment to Article 21 of the Bank of Uganda 2000 Act, which prohibits any design or portrait of a living person or any political symbol or word on its banknote. Majambele said that he represents many other Ugandans who wish to celebrate President Museveni for the work he has done and continues to do for this country by granting him such a wish. Makerere University Vice-Chancellor Professor Barnabas Nawangwe has revealed that the university will effective next academic year start a new course on mindset education across all programs. Ahumuza with more.
Speaking during day 2 of the week-long graduation ceremony at the university campus at thousands of students from the College of Education and Agriculture and Environment graduated, Professor Nawangwe said they realized that teaching their students only technical knowledge is not enough to produce fully-fledged graduates. Nawangwe further asked the graduates to use the knowledge they have received from the university to change their communities, country and humanity. On the other hand, the University Chancellor Professor Ezra Suruma urged teachers to be disciplined as they get employed across the country. He added that during his tenure as head of the Prime Minister's Delivery Unit, one of the major national challenges they confronted was the poor performance of pupils in universal primary education schools. Professor Suruma also revealed that the College of Agriculture has earmarked 30 acres of land at the Makerere University Agricultural Research Institute, Kawanyolo, for the establishment of botanical gardens. And
M23 rebels have sown chaos in the eastern edge of the Democratic Republic of Congo for over a year, but what they hope to achieve remains unclear.
Since late 2021, the group has seized the sources of territory in North Kivu province and near the regional hub of Goma, prompting hundreds of thousands to flee their homes. The M23, a two-slayed group whose name stands for the March 23 movement, re-emerged from dormancy in November 2021, accusing the DRC of ignoring a promise to integrate its fighters into the army. It subsequently won a string of victories over state forces. The DRC accuses its smaller neighbor Rwanda of backing the group, a charge supported by independent UN experts, as well as the United States and other Western countries. Rwanda denies the accusation. General Sylvain Ekenge, spokesman for the Congolese military, called the M23 a Rwandan pawn. He accused the government of Rwanda, a tiny landlocked state, of seeking access to eastern Congo's rich mineral resources such as gold, coltan and tin, adding that it's a problem of economic survival for Kigali. Despite international efforts to defuse the conflict, M23 forces have continued advancing, last month capturing the town of Kishanga, northwest of Goma. It now threatens to encircle Goma, a city of over 1 million people on the Rwandan border.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. South Africa declared a state of national disaster after floods caused by heavy rains in recent days have already left 7 people dead and others missing, according to disaster management centers in several provinces. According to a statement released by the presidency, the government declared a state of national disaster to enable a sustained and coordinated response to the impact of the floods. A national toll has not yet been released, but the bad weather threatens 7 provinces out of 9 that the country has, mainly on the east coast, open to the Indian Ocean. At least 5 people died in KwaZulu-Natal, according to Nonala Ndlovu, spokeswoman of the Disaster Management Center of the Coastal Province. The National Weather Center is predicting persistent and heavy rains ahead, with the risk of flooding due to waterlogged soils and circulated rivers. South Africa experienced the worst flooding in its history last year, mainly affecting Durban, the country's 3rd largest city and a major port on the continent. Heavy rains triggered impressive mudslides that swept away people, bridges, roads, and entire buildings. The storms killed more than 400 people and affected more than 85,000. Moving on, Senegal has sent a 30-member search and rescue team to Turkey to support disaster relief efforts after a devastating quake, which has been described as the disaster of the century.
The men belonging to the Senegalese Fire Brigade departed from Dakar Blaise Diagne International Airport on Monday. The team will land in Adanab before proceeding to the disaster area. The firefighters will deploy in Hatay, where they will participate in search and rescue operations. While the chances of finding survivors are almost nil, rescue workers are still shifting through the rubble for any signs of life. The death toll from last week's disaster has topped 41,000 in both Turkey and Syria. According to the Turkish government, some 1.2 million people have been housed in student residences. More than 206,000 tents have been erected and 400,000 victims evacuated from the devastated areas.
Away from that, the African Union Commission announced on Tuesday that it will be sending a 90-strong observer mission to Nigeria for a month's elections. We have more on this report. Africa's most populous country goes to the polls on February 25th, but has been plunged into crisis in the run-up to the vote with dire shortages of cash and fuel. The African Union Election Observation Mission is being headed by former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who helped broker a deal to end 2 years of war in northern Ethiopia and is mediating in the conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The AU said that the objectives of the mission were to provide an accurate and impartial assessment of the electoral process, offer recommendations for any improvement in future polls, and demonstrate AU support towards consolidation of democracy, peace, stability, and development in Nigeria. Nearly 100 million people will vote to choose the successor to President Muhammadu Buhari, who steps down after 2 terms as Nigeria struggles with widespread insecurity and economic malaise. Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, news agency Reuters reported on Monday that Ivory Coast cocoa exporters were close to defaulting on their contracts and urgently needed up to 150,000 tons to honor their commitments.
Citing sources including from the Democratic Traders, lobbying GNI, and the group which represents exporting cooperatives, Reuters mentioned a meeting that was hosted on Friday by the cocoa regulator. Among different options, the Cocoa and Coffee Council allegedly proposed pushing back the loading period for the contracts of smuggling exporters to June, so as to enable them to buy beans during the mid-crop harvest. Last November, the Ano's cooperative, which helps farmers bring their crops to markets, surrounded the alarm, saying their small-scale cocoa producers were hurting because of changing rain patterns blamed on the climate crisis. Cocoa farming employs nearly 600,000 farmers in Ivory Coast, ultimately supporting nearly a quarter of the country's population, according to the Coffee Cocoa Council. Cocoa production accounts for 15% of the nation's GDP.
In our health news today, residents of the Ivorian village of Kipo Kahankro are in a shock after experiencing over 15 mysterious deaths that have plunged the entire community into despair. According to authorities in Ivory Coast, they have found traces of a deadly bacterium on a 3-year-old granddaughter of Dorothy Ahu Kaume, who died mysteriously. Some people, however, are blaming witchcraft and accusing a prominent villager of installing a fetish. Clostridium, a common but deadly bacterium, was found both on the so-called object of witchcraft and on corpses that authorities tested. Still, many grey areas remain. The man accused of installing the object and the owner of the land where the fetish was set were condemned to 5 years in prison on February 9th for disorderly conduct and charlatanism. The fetish was moved out of the village. The local chief is not completely reassured though. According to the health authorities, 16 died, but villagers say 21 suffered untimely deaths, including 18 children. Symptoms prompted by botulism, that is caused by the deadly bacterium, include vomiting and muscle paralysis. And in sports, Wakiso Giants and Chitara became the first sides to reach the Stanbic Uganda Cup round of 16 in this year's edition. Chitara saw off Regional League side Uganda Pentecostal University 2-1 at Chigaya Primary School ground, thanks to second-half goals from defender Dudu Ramadan. We have more with Ahomuza.
Abdul Basti Wambale scored the only goal for the visitors, who had eliminated 4-time Uganda Premier League winners URA in the previous league. At Akiba Stadium, Lira Wakiso Giants needed a penalty shootout to eliminate fellow top-tier side Blacks Power in an evenly contested game that ended goalless in normal time. Despite missing several key players, the visitors were resilient and even had a goal chalked for offside when Norman Ojik thought he had given them a lead. All Wakiso Giants penalty takers, Ojik, Rahmat Senfuka, Tom Masiko, Hassan Senyonjo, George Kado and Alex Komakech, converted apart from Paul Wheeler, who ironically missed the first attempt. Action continues on Wednesday, and the round will be completed on Monday.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned.